PPSimmons Radio, your host Carl Gallups, and today's program we have with us on the line Ty Bassam. Ty Bassam is a subscriber to PPSimmons YouTube and Facebook, and he lives in Norman, Oklahoma, right outside of Moore, Oklahoma, where this recent devastating tornado went through, killed a lot of people, caused untold damage. We're still adding up the damage reports and even the death tolls, tragically. Ty, thank you so much for being on PPSimmons Radio with us today to kind of give us a first-hand view and understanding of this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you. And now Ty Bassam, as I said, is not only a PPSimmons subscriber and has been for years, but he lives there in Norman, which is right outside Moore. I'll get him to tell you exactly how closely it's located. But Ty is a contractor in Oklahoma, and he works storm damage and has been through this before. You've lived in Oklahoma all your life, haven't you, Ty?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that you've been through this before, that there's been a couple of other parallel storms, one particularly in May of 1999 that basically took the same path that this latest killer storm took in Moore, and then the Deer Creek tornado. Tell us about those, and then I'm going to get you to tell us about the one in Moore today.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. There's just a path of it's just consistent. There's an area that goes from a little town over there it's west of Moore. It's called Bridge Creek, and they start there, and they always take the same path. It's right there at Bridge Creek. They go up through Newcastle, and Newcastle got hit last year. My son's school got hit last year, and it went right by that again just yesterday. And then they go right over into Moore, and then sometimes they'll turn up and go to Midwest City and then on up. But this is not the first time that this has happened. I mean, there is a consistent pattern. I'm not sure what's going on. I think it's something to do with the where the jet stream meets, because right there, that same tornado line, that's just where the ice storms will stop. So something's going on there. It's a definite line. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah. Well, now, the jet stream, doesn't that change from time to time? I'm not a weather expert, but I think it kind of changes, doesn't it? And when it changes, do the paths of these killer storms change at all?
You're asking the wrong guy. I just can tell you what I observe, The Weather Center, the National Weather Center, is right here in Norman. It's right here.
Wow.
Maybe we should call over and ask them guys.
Yeah, well, I will do that. No, I wasn't trying to set you up as a weather expert. I just know you've lived there all your life, so I'm just wondering. You were talking about the frequent paths through that same area, and I was just wondering if over the years of your life and, listening to your parents and grandparents, if you've heard them speak about these paths, if they've changed at all, or if they're pretty consistent.
No, I'll tell you what. It's been since I've been an adult that this has all happened. It never was as a child, and it's gotten progressively worse over the years. So something definitely is happening. I'm not sure what it is. I couldn't even begin to imagine what it is, but something is going on. Right.
Now tell me. So you live in Norman. How close is that to Moore, Oklahoma, where this latest killer storm went through?
There's one street that divides it. It's in Indian Hills Road. You walk the south side of Indian Hills Road is Norman. The north side of that same road is Moore.
Oh, so you just live about 100 yards from Moore, then, is what you're saying?
Well, no, my house is about a mile and a half.
Yeah, wow. So on the day yesterday when this tornado ripped through there, it's my understanding that you have not yet even been to the exact area of devastation. I doubt if you can get to it with all the emergency excavation going on, and they're still searching for survivors. But where were you yesterday? I understand that you heard the storm. Tell us about that.
Well, I was doing my job, which is, I'm a contractor and I work storm damage. And it all started happening, and I left my job and came back to my house and was standing out here, and I was, having a cup of coffee with my neighbor, and we were watching it as it was going. We could see the storm. We could hear the storm.
Yeah. Could you actually see the funnel cloud, the tornado itself, from where you were?
No, sir. I could hear it. I mean, you could hear it. You could hear the storm.
Right.
I'm at, but I couldn't actually see it or anything. It was so dark, you'd have to be right there on it.
Oh, yeah. No, I understand. I've been in and around tornadic activity myself, so I understand that. So from where you were, about how far do you think it was from where you were to where the tornado actually touched down and the path went through? How far?
Well, I live off of a road called Porter, which turns into at Indian Hills. It turns into Sunny Lane, going through Moore. Okay, and I could get off right here and drive 4 minutes. I'm right where it crossed. 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I'm somewhere around there.
Right.
I'm really close.
Wow. Okay. What do you expect will be your chances to get down into the area and maybe take some video or some pictures, or maybe even give us another report later on?
Well, I can base this off of what happened, off of the 99 one, because I tried to get to that one too, and it took, the roads were just all blocked off. You couldn't get anywhere.
Yeah.
It took me about 4 days before I could actually get up there and look at it or anything.
Right.
The same thing with the last 2 years ago. I'm sorry, it was we had the Atoka tornadoes, which was really devastating. I got down there pretty quick though, and then the Deer Creek one was a few days later, and that was a real devastating one. That one broke my heart.
Yeah. Well, so you're thinking it's going to take a while to get down there, and that's probably so. When you do, you can get back with us if you have any updates. But listen, what are you hearing? I mean, you live there. You're just a mile or two from the devastation. What are people saying? I hate to use the word, but what's the gossip in the street right now in the area where you live, since you're right there in the epicenter of it? What are people saying about this storm and the devastation and what the emergency folks are doing? I understand it hit a school. I think there's some children that are dead from it. I mean, what are people in the area saying?
Well, it hit 2 schools and more, actually. You got to realize Moore is very, very dense. It's a very dense population because you got Norman on the south side, and you got Norman on the west and south side. You have Oklahoma City on the north and east side. So it's locked. It can't go anywhere. Okay.
Yeah.
It can't grow. I mean, as far as land-wise, it's locked in. So it's very, very densely populated. The schools they're just blocks away from each other. You're kind of dotted all through the town. And that thing hit 2 schools. From what I'm hearing, it hit 2, and I know the schools. I've been over there. It hit 2 schools and more, and then I believe it went just north of the one in Newcastle, which it crossed the river and got into Moore. So, as far as what I'm hearing, I've only heard of one person that I know that lost anybody in it yesterday. And I've got to go up there and hear a little bit, talk to her about that. I feel bad for her.
Yeah, well, of course, and our prayers are with you and your family and the folks that you know and will come to know who have lost loved ones, and for that whole area. I know a lot of folks on PPSimmons are great prayer warriors and believers, and I know that they will cover you in their prayers, especially after this interview. So what are people saying just about their have you talked to anyone who has actually observed any of the devastation yet, and what are they saying if you have?
Not as far. No, you can't get up there. Like I said, you cannot get up in there. I mean, I'm going to try to make some calls. I have friends that live there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to, see if I can get hold of them and stuff.
Yeah,
and
I got
I've got a couple of customers that I helped build their house back from a previous storm.
Right.
Up in there.
Right. Well, tell me, how about power outages and phone outages? Did you guys suffer any of that where you are, or is that kind of located centrally to where the storm touched down?
Well, during the storm, I was having intermittent power outages throughout the storm. You could tell it was hitting something because it would flick on. My TV would go off, and it'd pop back on, and it'd go off again. It did about 6 or 8 times, and that's about the time I went outside finally and knew it was bad.
Yeah, yeah. You said you could hear it. I'm going to ask you what it sounded like, and I'm sure you're going to say something like a freight train or an airplane, but you know.
Well, actually, distance than I am, it just sounded like a storm. I mean, you could hear the thunder and the lightning and the winds. It wasn't like. I guess you got to be up close to it to hear the train. All I heard was storm, just massive storm.
Yeah, what kind of wind did you get? And did you get any hail or any kind of massive storm effects from where you were just a few miles away?
No, we got wind and whatnot. Now, the day before, we had a storm on Sunday also the day before, and that produced a tornado. Then it kind of died out. But that foam cloud came right over my house. So the day before I did get high winds and hail and stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, Ty Bassam, thank you so much for your time. I praise God that you and your family are okay. Our prayers continue to go up for Moore, Oklahoma, and the folks and the precious people that lost loved ones. I can't even imagine that. I've been through a lot of hurricane and tornado damage and destruction down here along the Gulf Coast myself, but these tornadoes that just kind of instantly drop down out of the sky and give very little warning and work their devastation have got to be one of the most frightening experiences on the face of the earth. And it's my understanding, I cannot confirm this as a fact, but I can confirm as a fact that people are reporting that this may be the worst storm, the worst tornado in the history of the planet. There are actually a couple of news sites that have that as the headline. Do you have any confirmation of that from around your area? Any news reports? What are they saying?
I'm hearing the same thing you are, but like I said, the National Weather Center is right here in town. I'd like to come up. I may call over there and just look and find out exactly. I'll tell you what, though, I did see on the news, the local news, that concrete was peeled up. Now, that takes a heck of a wind to get concrete peeled up.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I can't even imagine that. Well, Ty Bassam, listen, thank you for your time. You've been very gracious. God bless you. You take care. I know you've got a lot of hard work and prayers and ministry ahead of you as you interject yourself into the life of that community. If you get more information or information that the PPSimmons listeners and subscribers would like to know, give us a call back and we'll try to get you on PPSimmons Radio, okay?
Certainly will. Thank you.
Okay. God bless you. You've been listening to Ty Bassam on PPSimmons Radio. Carl Gallups, your host, talking about the devastating tornado in Moore, Oklahoma. As we get more information, we'll give it to you right here on PPSimmons Radio. Do you ever wish that you could more powerfully, succinctly, and accurately speak to the message of your Christian faith and the Word of God? This is the book you need, The Magic Man in the Sky, Effectively Defending the Christian Faith. This book has been featured on TBN, Atlanta Live, dozens of radio programs, and hundreds of markets. It was rave reviewed by the Washington Times, and it was called a must-read book. Considering the times in which we now live, you need this book. Get it today on Amazon.com or the WND Superstore.